Hey guys, I'm Janine.
And I'm Vera.
And this is the Successful Ladies Handbook. Today we are going to cover everything about friendships in our adulthood, all throughout our 20s and early 30s, and sort of diving deep into what friendships look like as an adult, honestly. So stay tuned.
Here we go.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of start off with talking about friendships in your 20s, because I feel like that's something that I learned a lot about within this decade. It was just like, you know, friends coming and going and whatnot. And I guess from my own experience, I just know that I've learned more than anything that you're not going to be friends with everybody forever.
Exactly.
I feel like I started off my 20s with still some high school friends and, you know, I started off my 20s in the middle of college, so it's kind of like I was also making new friends in college and then kind of figuring out who your friends are. I just know I learned a lot about friendships in college, especially because I started off freshman year keeping in contact with a few people from high school that I knew, and then ended up falling out with them. And then also I started off with like a huge group of friends and that dwindled down to like me and one other person basically by the end of it all. And I don't know, it's just so interesting to see who you get close to in your 20s. And I honestly I used to say that the people, at least from like my experience, like the people that you meet in your 20s are probably people that are going to be around for the long haul. I only have a very small group of friends from high school, and it's basically just two other people and myself. So it's like I don't really have that many high school friends because I don't really identify with my high school self anymore. I've grown and evolved so much since then, and my friend group around me has changed a lot since then. So yeah, what do you think?
Girl, friends, I totally agree with you that as you get older, the number like dwindles down. But then I also feel like, I don't know, I have learned like throughout the decade, I have learned, like you said, not every friendship is supposed to be for forever. And sometimes it's not necessarily a falling out. It's just like you grow apart.
Exactly.
And I think like, you know, that's something that we don't recognize as being okay. It's just like, well, why? But like you said, we change, we grow, we evolve, and it's like we just no longer have the same things in common. But then also another thing that I learned being like a friendly Bob, because I'm naturally a friendly Bob, is that not everybody is your friend. Like when you meet people, because like at first I would meet people and have not necessarily like, that's gonna be my new best friend, but like, oh, that's gonna be, you know, she's cool. I would feel like, I think that I've learned the difference between a friend and an associate. And I also learned that, I think because I posted something on Facebook like a couple years ago, and it was just an article or a little post about how your coworkers aren't your friends.
Oh my God.
And somebody like kind of like did the little eyeballs like, what you mean? But it's like the truth. Like just because you work with somebody and you know y'all are around each other for 8 hours a day, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're my friend.
Exactly. I honestly wholeheartedly agree with that. And I don't know what it is or what made me this way, but I set so many boundaries with my personal life and my work life that I won't really bring up topics about what's going on in my life at work, because I'm like, that's my life, and I feel like I'm here to work with you on something that's separate from my life. And so I'm very weary about being too friendly with coworkers. And I'm sorry to anybody who's worked with me in the past and they think I'm standoffish. I feel like I am friendly to an extent. Like I am friendly, I enjoy conversations if it's something I want to participate in, but I do have like a clear line. These aren't my buddy friends. And sometimes you just don't know. You
can't tell them everything.
Yeah, you can't tell them everything. You don't know who they're gonna tell other people to in the office about your you know, your life. So you ain't hear nothing. Like I'm not going to like rant about my personal life. I'm just not going to do it.
The tip in the workplace, I feel like, is just being an active listener in the conversation instead of contributing much.
I'm
just
good at that.
Listen, nod, shake your head, maybe give a little feedback, but like I don't know, like that was a big thing that I learned, is that, and I mean, I don't necessarily think that I had a lot of personal issues with coworkers, but seeing how some coworkers treated other people, or how, you know, certain people, like they will talk about somebody like a dog, or turn around and send an email to a supervisor or something about them, and then just smile in their face, and it's just like, oh my God, like,
right. There's a lot of like workplace gossip that goes on,
yeah,
and I'd rather not be a part of it.
Yeah, so I only have my 2 friends. Those are like the only 2 friends, and I've been friends with them for the whole decade, like since I was like 19 or so. And yeah, but those were the only ones that I had truly became friends with out of work. And I think you can also tell, because if you switch jobs or something, if you still keep in contact with those people, or if you just don't, like a lot of people, they talk to you out of convenience, not because they have your interest at heart or they want to like truly be your friend. And so I've definitely learned to look at friendships differently, and you have coworkers, associates, and then friends. So like the different aspects of like relationships that are non-romantic relationships.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of Vera. I'm not a friendly Bob at all, which just sounds so bad. But I don't have that like magnetic energy
Lord.
I don't have like it's just not who I am. I'm not like that. I'll smile with people and like, be friendly and cordial. But I just don't have that magnetic energy where it feels like we're best friends from the moment we meet.
It's about the energy, though. Okay.
I think it is a little bit.
She thinks that anyway.
I think it is, because I think people, they naturally react to people based off of how they feel when they meet them.
This is true, but I'm just saying you can be a standoffish person, and if you like run around in the same circles as people, or you like working with them, like you could still, either you could possibly be like, oh well, it could come around to the point where it's like, maybe we'll chat more, or we'll be friends, or maybe they feel a certain type of way. Like it could be they feel like, I'm going to talk to her because it's convenient, we know all the same people,
right,
or we go to work with each other, or whatever. And I mean, I don't know, I feel like I'm rambling, but it's not necessarily the energy, but more so the intentions.
Okay, like my bad. Let me just not.
No,
I don't even remember what I was gonna say in regards to that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I'm just saying, like, I get that. Okay, yes, for me, I'm a friendly Bob, and I do feel like I just have like something plastered on my forehead that says "talk to me."
You really do, and I feel like that's not a bad thing though. When I say that, I'm like, I know plenty of people in my life that are like that.
But
like
some people aren't. It's not the energy; it's just the convenience. Like,
I feel like I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying about it being convenience. But I honestly feel like whenever I witness it in your life, or when I witness it with like my brother-in-law, he's a very like magnetic person, and like people he interacts with people so easily, and I feel like that you have the same kind of trait. And I just know that there's people who interact with people easy, and that's what the energy is.
So maybe because of that energy, maybe I felt like younger Vera was like, oh, whoever I come in contact with and we have this energy, they're gonna be my friend. Okay,
so that was your thing.
So maybe I think that's what I feel like. I took what you said, and that's kind of what I interpret it as. But I still feel like, for instance, like with so if you watch this, don't be mad, but she's not a friendly Bob at all. Like when I first met her, she looked a little mean. But I'm just saying, it's possible for people who are standoffish or who don't have that energy to still be in situations where a potential friendship could happen. And or I think sorry, what?
I think the reason why that is because the opposite person has that energy.
This is true.
Because if you think about us, we met because of...
I slid in her DMs.
She slid in my DMs on Instagram because I had posted like my outside workout. And she was like, why you ain't invite me? Or next time let's work out together. I was like, who is this girl? And I was like, sure, why not? Because I'm like, I'm an open person. Like I do like meeting people as much as I don't put myself out there to meet people, but it's not like I'm closed off to it.
Right.
But it's because you have that energy. I would never slide in somebody's DMs and say something like that to somebody I don't know.
But you know what? And I don't even know, like, were we following each other beforehand or something?
I think we were following each other, but I don't know how.
I don't know how either.
I don't even even know how that began.
But let me tell you how I get caught up. It's the stories. It's the stories for me because you know, when you reply to stories, it's in the DMs.
It really is.
And I've had to catch myself because I chit chat and I love just, commenting or complimenting people. So if I see stories, I'm always just like, I just be talking stuff when I reply or, comment on stories, and it automatically it's a DM, and then that turns into a conversation or whatever else. Yeah, I have definitely made plenty of like associates. Old me would have said friends, but I've definitely made plenty of associates or just had connections, whether they're on a grander scale or not, that came from I guess commenting on stories, sliding in DMs.
Right. Yeah, I think that kind of shows that you had the energy to put forth your bubbliness into responding to somebody's stories.
I have a question. Do you feel like do you feel like it's possible for two standoffish people to eventually become friends?
I think so. I do think it's possible because I feel like I'm a little standoffish in person. Like, I'm not about to start a random conversation with somebody at Target. That's just not me. I'm very like in the zone. I want to do my own thing, whatever. But I do comment on people's stories, and it does lead to a message.
See?
And I've been doing that more lately. Like, oh my God, you look gorgeous, or oh my gosh, this is so cool. What is this? And people respond to my stories, and I like when people respond because I'm like, okay, they're not like lifeless people just watching my stories, like moving on,
being lurkers.
So I think it is possible for me as a standoffish person to reach out through something like Instagram if I see something that I identify with or want to like learn more about or comment on. Not in person though. It's not happening.
I don't know. I feel like if you have enough encounters, like if you cross paths with a person enough, regardless of if they're bubbly or not, it might be like, I think it still just kind of goes back to that convenience,
right? But
then depending on the two people, like it could lead to a friendship, or it could just be something very superficial, and like the minute it's no longer convenient, you guys aren't friends or whatever anymore. And see, that's the thing too. I used to feel like that type of stuff is sad. Now
you're like,
I'm like, it is what it is. You
are very like, you know what, I guess that's another phase of life, because we've talked about friendships a lot lately.
We really have. I used to really get sad, and I used to sit and be like, what is wrong with me? How come I can't keep a friend? Or how come things didn't work out with this person or that person? And because I think I called you crying one day, because did I call you?
Yeah, I think you did.
Because of that.
Yeah. Because of the what?
That situation. I was just put in a situation where I was with a group of people, and it just was like every time I looked around, it was a problem. And it was more so with me. Either they had a problem with me. I mean, I really feel like it was somebody in that friend group had an issue with me. I never necessarily had issues with them as a person. I may have had a few issues with how they did certain things, but I'm the type of person, like, I just keep it moving. But I felt like, when you sit and you look, and it's like some of these friendships, they don't last. And it's like, well, what am I doing wrong? Like, is it me? But I've definitely learned. I think I've done enough, like, what is it called? Self-reflection. Yes, I think I've done enough of that, and then also asked outside sources with like unbiased opinions. I even talked to my therapist about this, and she was like, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I just think that it's a lot of bad people in the world, and not necessarily bad, but just not so good people in the world, and just people that aren't for you.
Do you mean like with friendships in general, or with that particular situation?
With people in general.
Oh, okay.
Like, well, yeah, friendships, but I mean with people in general, but in specific these people that I was quote unquote friends with, but at the end of the day, it was a matter of convenience. We were in the same place every day for so many hours,
right?
And then we were all the same. We were all black, so it was like, oh, black girls got to stick together. So all of those conveniences made it like we were supposed to be friends by default, and it just wasn't working.
That was like the convenience kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like, we're around each other. We're black women. We should be coming together, but sometimes it just don't work like that.
It did not work. But I think now, I think I've done a lot of self-reflection, and I think the thing also is with every situation, you should look at yourself and what you did in that situation. But I feel like I've learned that you know, it's not always my fault. So therefore I'm no longer sad. And then also when people have a problem with you, like this is something else we talked about, like when people have a problem with you, that doesn't necessarily mean it's your problem. Like I made a lot of things my problem, like for the past decade, things that had to do with other people's issues, and I think I'm like over that. So it's just like, it is what it is.
I have so many things to comment on with that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Comment, girl.
No,
comment
you're good.
away.
I never want to interrupt you.
I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt you either.
No, you're fine.
I like this episode.
I know. I like it too. But with that situation of the group of girls that you were around, I remember like hearing about them, and I remember immediately being like, these people are not for you. I don't think I ever had anything for any of them. I was like, I don't know if you remember me saying anything about that, but I was just like, they just don't bring about good vibes. And there was like a lot of jealousy, I feel like. There was jealousy or like weird feelings.
Definitely weird feelings.
They were trying to like alienate you from the group.
Right.
And I was like, this is so high school.
And it was, but part of the issue is that I was a friendly Bob. And I'm never one of those type of people that be like, I don't see color.
Oh, God.
Because I do. But I can make friends. I don't want to say make friends. I can talk to anybody. And me going into that situation, I knew I wanted to talk to everybody because you never know who you're going to meet. So therefore, that was seen as me being unauthentic or me being fake or me being not loyal to a certain group of people. But it's like, nah, sis, I just want to meet new people.
Right.
And that's another thing with friendships is we have to learn, I think, because, like, you know, we have those friends who are, like, team no new friends, or they just, like, want to keep you to themselves.
Oh, that's so true.
They don't expect you to have relationships with other people. Letting friends go, not necessarily letting them go, but understanding that you are not their only friend. Like, your friends have other friends.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely true.
That just goes to show intentions and motives. Yeah, with people, quote unquote friends, what are their intentions? What are their motives?
That's kind of like dating, honestly. I feel like friendships and relationships, like romantic relationships, honestly, are on the same level. You just don't have the romance part with the friendships.
Right.
It's kind of like you have to foster your relationship. You also have to foster your friendships. And intentions and motives is something that you're like, a lot of people will seek in a partner, but you also you do have to seek that with friends, because it's like, what is your intention for being in my life?
Right.
And there are people out there. Luckily, I have never had an encounter with somebody who has tried to be my friend and in purpose to try to knock me down. Anyone who's tried to like come into my life just to be an enemy or try to like be after the things in my life or whatever, because you know, some people will buddy up to you and really have like the worst intentions. I've never had that experience, thank God. But you do have to kind of be aware of like, what are your intentions with that, and be mindful of their actions. I feel like actions say a lot, words say a lot.
It does.
And you kind of have to like reflect on what people are saying to you and be like, are they being a good friend here, or are they being jealous, or are they being a good friend here, or are they, you know, being a little rude or trying to like bring you down in some sort of way.
Yeah, that and what they say about their other friends around you.
That's true.
I feel like, I kind of listen like, interesting.
Right, exactly.
That brings me to another thing when it comes to friends or friendships that I learned about being older. And you know, as you get older, it's harder to make friends, similar to dating, because people have been burned by friends, and just everybody is so jaded that it's like, what are your intentions? You know,
that's so interesting, because I feel like it is harder to make friends as an adult, but I don't think of it in the terms that you're thinking of it, like because they've been jaded. I just feel like people are comfortable,
set in their ways.
They're set in their ways. They're comfortable.
Too.
They know the people that are around them, and the energy that it takes to get to know somebody, another adult who has their own issues that you've never experienced before. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's different, I guess. And so honestly, I haven't made that many new friends as an adult when I think about it. Most of my friends are friends from college or a few from high school. And I feel like you're probably the only adult friend I've made. I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, I think you're the only person I've met in my mid-20s that I That I met after college because we met back in 2017.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. I can't say that I've made, and that's the thing. If you say associates, then okay, yeah, I've had a few associates, whatever.
Right.
But like true friends, I really haven't made that many either since 2017.
I don't think I made any associates neither. If we being real.
Well, and that's the thing, like, and that's something that it really like burns me. It just really, it's low key annoying when people be like, "Oh my god,
make so many
friends," and I'm like, "Girl,
that's me.
Where they at? Though?
When I say that,
where they at?"
It's literally me being like, "You're just so." I feel like people are drawn to you.
And it's quality over quantity.
It is quality over quantity. And I will quote my friend Krista. Shout out to you if you're watching this. But we have a lot of good conversation. But she always told me that her dad tells her, Krista, if you have one or two friends, you good.
Exactly.
And every time I hear that, I'm like, that's so reassuring because people are so worried about seeming popular, even in their 20s.
And having a whole gang of friends.
Everybody wants to have a picture with a big group of friends, and everybody's coordinated and color coordinated, and they look beautiful going out or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people like want that. But honestly, if you literally have one or two good people in your life that you can always talk to, you really are good. Because like, why do you need a whole bunch of people around you?
Yeah, and I feel like, and it's just like Instagram and all the highlight reels. We don't know what those big groups of friends go through behind the scenes and whatnot. And I feel like I don't have a big group of friends like that, but it seems like it would be hard to maintain that type of group. Because I mean, we talked about friend groups. I have separate individual friendships with the few people that I have, like, that I'm friends with. I have one group with me and two other people, and that's still it's kind of like hard trying to maintain a friend group of 3. So I couldn't even imagine dealing with a large group of people like that.
And that's kind of like whenever I told you that one time that like groups of 3 tend to not work out for some reason. Because it's like 2 people are always going to be closer to each other than the other, and then it's like the dynamic is kind of off for whatever reason. So like friend groups of like 4 or like, I guess, I don't know, 4 or more. I really don't know.
So you think those are better?
I do think those work out better. But I don't know why that is. I guess because it's not as small and it doesn't seem as... Like, say me and you and one other person were in a friend group. And it's like, clearly... And we just started hanging out with that person not too long ago. Well, clearly I
feel like that's different.
How is that different?
Because if you have 2 and then you bring another one in, like, there's already a stronger bond.
I feel like most of the time that happens, though. Or even if you meet some people around the same time... I think personality-wise, you are always going to gravitate to somebody who's kind of like on your same level. And I just think it's natural for 2 people to gravitate more because it's easier to foster a relationship with one person than it is for 2 people. And
so you feel like with like 4 or more, it can be smaller.
2 on 2 is versus. I'm just playing. I don't know. I was just saying,
when I see like the groups of like more than 6, I feel like that would be hard to maintain.
It is, and honestly,
so the sweet spot might be 4 or 5.
I think so. And low key, like my group of college friends is 5 of us. Okay. So it's like it kind of works that way. But otherwise, I have like individual friendships with people.
Yeah, same.
And when you have like a lot of people in a group, I low key don't think that it ever works out. And I started off college with like a huge group of friends. It was like 10 of us or more. And a lot of people were like, you guys aren't going to be friends by the end of college. And in my head, I was like, that's accurate because you can't get close. I don't think you can get really, really close to a lot of people. And it also kind of concerns me when somebody is friends with a lot of people. Right. Because it's like, who are you really friends with?
Exactly.
It's kind of like, do you ever get on a deeper level with people? Because I'm assuming that if you have a lot of friends, it might be all surface level. And I could be wrong. You can call me out in the comments if you want. But I don't know. It just seems a little hard to keep up with a huge group of people.
Okay, so when I think about big groups of friends or just friendships in general, like you said, first of all, if I think about friends and large groups of friends or whatever, I'm thinking of fights and disagreements.
That's so true.
But, so remember I told you I had a friend that I never fought with. Mm-hmm. And so, I would be like,
that brings up such a good point.
With us? Is something wrong with us?
That brings up such a good point.
Because I felt like our friendship was deep. Mm-hmm. Like really deep, and it meant something. Mm-hmm. So, but we never had an argument. Ever. Like we never not one time had an argument. But it took all this time for me to kind of think. It made me think about the fact that we had never fought. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering, so was this a true, like I said, I know that our relationship meant something to each other. Mm-hmm. But how healthy was this relationship?
If you had never had a disagreement?
Yeah, and how true was it?
That made me think of a conversation I've had with one of my line sisters a while back. Because she was like, I think she had fallen out with one of her friends. And I was like, it was crazy because I was like, oh my gosh. Like, you guys were, like, really thick as thieves, and all of a sudden you guys are not talking anymore. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about friendships in general, and she was like, I mean, I don't think you can really be a friend with somebody unless you've had, like, at least, you know, one argument. Like, or if you've had, like, a disagreement or something. She's like, you're not really friends if you haven't had a disagreement. And ever since then, I've always asked people, like, do you think you have to be, like, having, like, some sort of argument or disagreement with somebody in order to be true friends? Because I thought that was just super interesting to me, because I was thinking about it and I was like, I feel like I have some friends where I hadn't had like a disagreement with, but the older I get and the more I think about it, I do think that that's like an important part of having friendships with people. Is sometimes you gotta just, sometimes you're not gonna agree on anything, right? But if you do have like a little tiff, can you like get through that and get over it? It's kind of like it's just like with relationships. People are like, a real romantic relationship, you have to argue, and sometimes it's not going to be like, you know, sunshine and rainbows or whatever. Right. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I was like, I guess the same could be applied to friendships too. Have you had an argument or a disagreement with somebody? And I do think that those things are important elements in friendships. So
when I think about like that particular relationship, we've had plenty of disagreements, and I think that, I guess it just depends on the person and you know, how you guys communicate, because I feel like there's, you know, you can have a disagreement, agree to disagree, and you know, because I've definitely had those type of situations where we didn't agree on the same thing or whatever, right? But it never really led to an argument.
So you're saying that the argument part was like, we've never had that much.
We never had like our like disagreeing and whatnot never went that far.
So it's kind of like a form of showing that you care if you're willing to.
You know, like in relationships, how girls be like, "You're not gonna fight for me, Jody."
Right. No, that is a valid point, and that's something to definitely think about. And I'm like reviewing my friendships, and I know I've had plenty of arguments or disagreements with some of my college friends, and we haven't had arguments. But I'm looking at you like, we ain't never argued, have we?
We really haven't. We get on each other's nerves, though.
We do. Oh my God. I get on her nerves more than anything.
No, I get on hers more than anything.
I feel like I'm your fifth child.
Guys, we haven't had any arguments.
Right.
But I think there are things that...
What?
I don't want to say we disagree. I mean, because
don't say it.
Because you'll be like, oh, you need to blah, 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 blah.
Oh my, are you talking about when I tell you? I mean,
like, that's, but like, I agree too.
That's like a form of, honestly, that's like the purest form I have of caring about somebody, because I'm not blunt with everybody. There's some people that I have pretty close friendships with that if I don't tell you, that I won't tell about themselves.
Right.
But if I'm telling you about yourself and I want you to improve something,
exactly.
I mean, it could come off like, girl, you're doing too much, and sometimes I worry about that. But honestly,
I've never gotten that from you.
Gotten what?
I do get you do tell me like you know the truth and it's blunt or whatever, but you've never really told me I'm doing too much. Well, maybe you have once or twice.
Doing too much? What do you mean?
Yeah, like you just said, like you doing too much.
Oh, I mean, like, I guess telling somebody about themselves.
Okay, so like for instance, would you tell that one friend about herself with her relationship like you would me? Would
Honestly,
you have that same energy and level of realness with one friend with one friend and an issue that like really needs to be addressed, you know?
Okay, so I would say yes. I would say to an extent. I feel like I probably go harder on you just because
that's how you know it's real.
Just because I think it's like, it's kind of like if I were to see like a snake biting you, I would quickly try to remove the snake and make sure that you're out of harm's way, because that snake is prohibiting you from doing the things that you need to do. And so if I see it as like that person, or something is going on that's dragging you down,
right,
I really want to like be like, do this, like I want you to get that person out of your life.
This needs to stop.
Yeah, because I'm like, because I feel like it's like inhibiting you and keeping you from shining at your highest.
Right.
So if I feel like something is like a real problem, I have no problem saying like, this has got to go. Something needs to change. Like, even if it's like probably getting on your nerves. But like, as far as like, would I bring that same energy to somebody else?
Yeah.
It really just depends. Because if that person, it seems like they're thriving even with the BS, I'm kind of less inclined to say much, because I'm like, it seems like you're doing fine. Because it's like, there's only so much.
It has nothing to do with like the friendship or the person.
Now I gotta think. I mean, I guess to an extent. I think it kind of does deal with the friendship a little bit. But also it has to deal with, do I feel like it's really harming you or hurting you? And if you seem fine about it, then I have no room to say anything at that point.
See, I'm different.
If things seem, if even if you've had like really horrible situations with, say it's a relationship in the past, if you have gotten past that with that person and you're choosing to ignore whatever they did and move on, I have no choice but to move on with you. Like, I'm not going to harbor anything about somebody's significant other, even if I don't think that they may be the best person. It doesn't really matter what I think, because I'm not waking up next to them. So if you're fine with it, I have to be fine with it too. And I'm not going to bring it up after the fact and be like, so-and-so's a real, pain in your butt or whatever, and he's not anything. Like, I'm not going to say that unless you come to me with a problem that he did. Then I do need to stick up for you, and I'm going to speak my mind in that regard. Right. Otherwise, I feel like it's not my place. If you chose to move on from it, I have to choose to move on from it.
Like you like it, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I don't love it, but I'm not going to say nothing. If you like it, I'm not going to say nothing. That's what the real saying should be.
I'm done. Oh my God. Yeah. So I think basically it's like, is the quality of a friendship based on how real you keep it with them? Or is it just not necessarily one friendship is, I don't want to say better than the other one, but like, does that matter? Like, how real you keep it? Is it just because, well, I know this particular friend don't take criticism well, so the friendship is still the same quality of friendship as the friend that I can keep it real with, but I just don't keep it real with this person because of how they are.
I do feel like the quality of the friendship does depend on that, in my opinion. Because if I feel like I'm really close to someone, I feel like I can say what's on my mind. But I'm always going to try to, and I'll always say like, look, you can tell me to shut up. Because I know that sometimes I can reiterate things too much, or I can say certain things that might come off like a bit, I guess, brash, and like, I mean, it could feel harmful to somebody, or maybe a little harsh. So I'm always like, look, if I'm saying something that is feeling a little bit harsh to you, you can tell me to shut up and I won't talk about it again. But this is how I feel, and like, I want you to know how I feel because this is what I see from the outside. I feel like outside perspectives are sometimes, if they're warranted, I feel like they can help out a lot in situations.
They definitely can.
When you're involved in something, you don't really see everything that other people see. Exactly.
But I don't know, because...
So do you feel that way?
I feel like I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth, because like with some situations, like with the friend I had that I never argued with, I had a situation, I had a similar situation like that, but I felt like I guess because we have been friends for so long that it's like, you finna hear the truth. Like, this is how I feel. I don't like this.
Right.
So, you know, this is not cute.
Right.
So I feel like, and it could be, maybe it was, I don't know if it was because we had been friends for so long, or if it was because that's just the type of people we were, that like, I can keep it 100 with you. But yeah, and I think that goes back to the disagreements. Like, we have had disagreements and we can agree to disagree, but it never escalated to an argument.
Right.
Maybe we were both just really passive aggressive and we just dismissed things and kept it moving.
And honestly, I feel like passive aggressiveness is like the killer for friendships. I really do, because it doesn't do anything but make you seethe more in tough situations. You harbor more anger when people are passive aggressive.
I don't know then, because I didn't harbor many things. We just didn't really have arguments.
Right.
We just had small disagreements.
That's interesting. I don't know then.
But I could still keep it 100 with her.
Okay, well.
And vice versa.
Maybe you guys just don't get angry.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or maybe you didn't feel like it was worth expressing anger. Ooh, I have a good quote. I have a good quotable for you.
Say it.
I was on Clubhouse.
This girl.
I stay on
Clubhouse. Be a Clubhouse ambassador.
But there's a lot of good. I don't know. There's a lot of good conversations that are had on Clubhouse. So I was in one the other day, and this girl said, you have to let your anger be expensive. You can't let people bring you to that level.
Chloe talks about it too.
Does she really?
Yes.
Oh my God. So yeah, she was saying like, you need to let your anger be expensive. Because I was thinking about it and I'm like, that's so true. Like, sometimes we let the smallest things make us so angry, and it ain't hurting nobody but ourselves.
And I think that's why, like, so since I've moved into like my 30s, I have practiced that 5-minute rule more.
Ooh.
And I think that's why some people have mentioned, like, meeting me now, that I just seem like I don't care, or I don't let things faze me because of that 5-minute rule. I find that people who have encountered those type of experiences don't get angry.
They don't,
because they've almost had life, like life is too short. It can be snatched from you in any instant. And so their anger is more expensive.
Exactly.
Because they know, like,
they know that nothing is that serious in the grand scheme of things.
Nothing is promised. So do I want to spend, if this is my last second on this earth, do I want to spend it mad, or do I want to just be happy?
Exactly. It's definitely a choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm learning a lot about that, because I feel like sometimes people can make me so quick to get angry, and I really need to like step back and think about it. And I mean, that kind of goes into one of my friendships that I'm recently repairing now. I feel like we're in the repairing stage, but we didn't talk for almost a year, and it was because of some things that were going on with like both of us that we didn't really communicate on. It was a lot of miscommunications and, you know, just things that we didn't really talk about with each other. But I also feel like that time apart made us realize and self-reflect, like, of what we probably did wrong in certain situations, and what we could have probably expressed better when it was happening. But we needed that time apart to kind of like think about it. And then it's like, when I'm ready to like reach out to you again, I will. And it did happen, and we you know, I feel like we're working on the stages of like getting close again. So that's kind of like you know, I feel like we kind of let anger and feelings of anger towards each other kind of let us take over what could have been like a simple conversation, right? But we kind of needed that time to like fizzle out that anger. So it's kind of like
assess the anger.
Exactly.
Why am I angry?
Exactly.
What did I do? What did they
And when
do?
I look back at it, I was like, it kind of seems like silly, if that makes sense. It's just like
it could have been a simple conversation.
Yeah, it was like it was blown way out of proportion.
Now when you have the conversation and the stuff is still the same, that's when the problems truly arise.
That is true. But it's also nice, I don't know, it's also nice whenever you are arguing with a friend, you need to kind of have a layer of understanding for the other person. And you got to kind of empathize and put yourself in their shoes, and like kind of think how they are probably thinking in that situation. And even if you don't see eye to eye, sometimes I do think that those like the situation with that friend, I feel like sometimes feeling that anger is kind of healthy for friendships. Seeing the other person's point of view is healthy. Taking time apart can be healthy for friendships as well. I feel like sometimes friendships are just for a season, and you don't need to have that person back in your life, and you might know for sure like this is fine without them.
Right.
But I do feel like sometimes people can come back into your life, and if they do, it's important to embrace that and try to make it stronger for sure. Embracing,
like, that's the thing for me is like, because I know and this is not even like, this is with friendships or just life in general, just being open and willing to change and just whatever comes your way.
That is so true.
Especially with friends.
And also taking it upon yourself to realize you're not always right in the situation.
I need to work on that. I need to work on
on if you're right or not.
No, I think I'm pretty good with self-reflecting, but putting myself in the other person's shoes and being more like empathetic.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if like that has to do with me being an only child or not.
Ooh, that's deep.
But I think I can empathize more. I feel like I give, I don't know, maybe it's because like I said before, oh, here's another quotable. I don't know if it was a tweet or something that like somebody posted to Instagram, but it was like, if I cut you off, it was like, yeah.
I know this one already.
If I cut you off, you probably handed me the scissors to do it. I feel like maybe I do have empathy. Not so much empathy, but I just give people grace. And I'll forgive, or I'll, let it go.
Oh, definitely.
So many times that it's like, it comes to a breaking point where it's like, no, I'm good. And I no longer have any, I'm not trying to understand anymore. I don't have any empathy. I'm not trying to be put in your shoes, because I have like looked the other way or let something slide for so long.
Right.
That it's like, I'm dead. I don't have nothing for you. Like,
and I honestly feel like that's fine too, because if people show repeated patterns towards you in a particular friendship that you don't like, you don't have to have them around. It's up to your discretion who you allow into your life, and who you want to give your time and energy to. So sometimes I'm just like, I have to let this go for my own sake, because I feel like it's exhausting. I will never forget, I had a friend, which is like also another relationship I'm trying to repair now, but at the time, like a few years ago, it felt like I was the one who was constantly reaching out, trying to hang out. And
Are you talking about me?
No,
I'm just kidding.
I could talk about that one year you ghosted me though.
Oh my god,
I'll bring that up in a second.
Oh my god.
But no, like this particular friend was somebody who I've been friends with for a while, and for some reason there was a period where I was trying to reach out to her like, hey, you want to hang out, do this, blah, 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 and it was like, it never went anywhere. And it seemed like I was the only one reaching out, and she wasn't reaching out to me. And at one point, I was like texting my other friend who also knew this person, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm not about to keep reaching out to somebody and not get anything back, so I just stopped reaching out.
Right.
And like eventually I got a random phone call, and they hit me up like, hey, this is so and so, and I was like, I didn't have any anger or anything. I immediately was like, you can call me at any time. Like, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at any time. I never had any ill feelings. I was just like, you might be going through a phase in your life.
Exactly.
And I'm like, people are so complicated. I think that's something that people don't realize. We realize that we ourselves are complicated.
We all have problems, feelings, issues.
We really do. Yeah. And so you have to kind of realize that people are going through their own things while you're going through your thing.
Exactly.
And this is something new for me too. Don't take anything personally.
Yes.
I'm learning this more than ever. Like, you you literally can't take the actions of others on, like, towards you personally, because it honestly could be something that they're dealing with deep inside that you just don't know about.
I used to take a lot of things personally, but I don't. I think that's part of the reason why I feel like I come off as like, because you can't take things personally. I think, and then when you think of yourself, so I take it back. Maybe I'm not as like not empathetic as I thought, but I think like it's definitely a shelf life on it though.
Oh, you said it's definitely a shelf life. It definitely
expires after.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. But there's some. I feel like there's also. I'm gonna bring up the time you ghosted me.
Guys, Guys. And that goes to show how complicated people are.
It does.
I fell off the face of the earth.
But this is the difference. Because with the friend that I was talking about where I kept reaching out, she didn't necessarily fall off the face of the earth. It just seemed like she didn't have the capacity for our friendship at the time.
Okay.
So I was just like, I'm going to leave that alone. You know, let her do her. And maybe she can come back later. It was up in the air at that point. But I'm not about to keep expending energy on somebody who's not going to reciprocate it.
Right.
In the case with you... I was concerned.
What happened?
It was
I remember.
I think it was 2019.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
It was like a month before I started cosmetology school.
Was that 2018?
I can show.
When did you graduate? When you graduated cosmetology school in 2019?
Yes.
You're right.
I can show you the post.
I remember the post too. It was you out in the park, right?
I was you were out on a rock.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Look, y'all. I was all happy on this post, jumping on this rock when I posted that. But the caption told the truth. Okay, the truth, the tea, the gems is always in the captions. Cause I was posting. I was like, I'm sitting here on this couch with loads of laundry to do, and I don't feel like doing any of it. And that was R.I.P.
And she literally did not post anything for months after that.
A good 6 months.
A good 6 months after that. I remember that so vividly. This was after you started cosmetology school, right?
Yeah. Okay. When I posted again, or
no, when you posted that around the time
before I started.
Okay, and then she fell off the face of the earth for 6 months. For a month.
Oh no. I started school a month after that. Yeah.
Yes. And then you didn't post anything for 6 months. But she also was like not really responding well to me, I felt. Like it felt
what happened? I'm sorry.
I feel like you kind of you dropped off communication a little bit.
Okay.
And it was to the point where I didn't think that you were like, oh, I don't want to be friends with her. I felt like something was going on internally with you.
And it was.
And I felt like you were like sad, or I felt like something wasn't right. So I was like, you're not finna drop me. Which is probably.
And I thank you. I'm so sorry. No. But I was going through. But and you know, speaking of that, and since we're talking about that, like the whole friendship and stuff, and like how a friend of mine has sent me this article that she wrote about breakups in terms of friendships, and how she broke up with her friend because she didn't believe in her dreams and didn't believe in her like acting career and whatnot. Right. So having certain people in my circle tell me certain things, and you know, put in their opinions and like their disbelief onto me really affected me.
Is that what happened during that time?
Yes, that's part of what happened.
Oh, wow.
And so I don't think I necessarily had started doing self-reflection until like right before I just was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to cosmetology school, this is what I'm gonna do. But like the first 3 weeks or so, the first 3 weeks or so, I spent time just like being depressed and feeling like stuck. Right. Because it's like I felt some type of way, but then I had doubts, and then other people had things to say, and then that made it even worse. And so I did feel like, I fell off of the face of the earth. And
it was like we had just became friends at that point. Like we were only friends for a year, I think, at that point. And I was like, we had a good thing going. I was like, what's wrong? Right. I was like, what's wrong? What happened?
I'm glad you didn't take it personal.
I didn't take it personally. I thought that like something was like going on with you. To not be like, it would be one thing if you were posting on Instagram every day about, you know, random stuff.
And all up in my stories.
I would have been like, she clearly don't want to talk to me. Exactly. And I probably would have let it go after that, to be honest. But I knew that like because you were kind of distancing yourself from social media, and I felt like I wasn't getting much of a response back from you.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be sorry.
So bad.
I don't think that anyone should ever apologize for taking a break, even if it's from like people.
Yeah, but
I just wanted to check in and make sure you were okay.
I could have communicated with you like, I am not okay.
I mean, you could have, but I was just like, you ain't falling off with me. Basically, I was like that stubborn zit that won't go away. I was like, you're not going nowhere. I'm not phasing myself out of your life. So what's up?
All right, guys. So we all know I ghosted Janine, but it wasn't personal. She forgave me. I'm glad we're moving on. We're not going to ramble about it anymore. We're going to go on and share a few tips with you guys on how to navigate through relationships and your perspective on relationships, specifically friendships, throughout your 20s and early 30s.
Okay, so the first tip that I have is to not take anything personally, like I was saying. A lot of times we want to inflict our own emotions on how a situation is going and having assumptions about what other people may be thinking or going through when it might not even be the case. So if somebody is treating you a certain way that it kind of catches you off guard, or they're distancing themselves from you in certain ways, my advice is just to not take it personally, because it might have nothing to do with you. Maybe give them space and time for them to go through their emotions and whatever they're feeling, and then eventually reach back out like, hey, so we never had a conversation about this, do you want to open up about it? Or I don't know, do a friendship audit. I did a friendship audit with my friend group.
Oh, that's good.
Sometime last year, we were just going through like what we need from our friendships in the group, and how, other people make us feel. Basically, like going through like, how can we be better friends to each other? Yeah, it's really good. It was really good. It's healthy conversations to have.
Yeah.
So I feel like I would recommend that. Don't take anything personally, and if you want to grow a stronger relationship, then maybe do a friendship audit.
Tip number 2 is to be open and receptive. By that, I mean be open to change, be open to whatever situations leave or come your way. Like, Janine talked about a friend that they kind of went off course for a while, but the girl contacted her and she was open and she didn't hold any grudges or anything. She just took the situation for what it was and ran with it, and she was able to salvage her relationship. So just be open to whether or not, a friend leaves or comes. When I say be open, I don't mean you have to take any bull crap or anything like that, but just be open to just what comes your way in terms of friendships and in life.
The third tip that we have is that some friendships are just for a season. So not everyone is meant to be in your life, your entire life. Sometimes people are there for a while, and that's a blessing if they are. But also, it's okay if somebody was just in your life for just a couple of years, just like a season, like not that long. And I think it's important to still cherish the memories that you may have had with that person.
Yes, exactly.
And, I'm sure that there was happy times out of that situation. So you can always foster that kind of thought towards them, but also be okay that they aren't there in your life anymore. And they're probably not meant to go with you to that next journey you're on, or that next stage in your life. It's healthy to not really have too many attachments to past relationships that didn't work out, and it's okay that they didn't work out. And so it's good to keep in mind that not every friendship is going to last forever.
Tip number 4 is the importance of self-reflection. It's important to look at every friendship and every situation you've had in that friendship and see what you've done, whether you could have done something different or responded differently or something of that matter. But also know that even when you self-reflect, at the end of the day, it may not be your fault. It may be your fault, and either way it's okay, but just make sure that you own up for your part in the friendship and in the situation.
Definitely. And I also think it's healthy to ask the other person and not be defensive, but sometimes I have conversations with people that might be difficult, and I'm like, look, you can tell me anything that I did in a situation that made you uncomfortable and made you feel a type of way towards me, because in turn that just helps you fix whatever might be going on.
And it helps you grow. I love constructive criticism.
I love it too. Right. Constructive criticism, not just hating. But I think it's so important and it's healthy to be like, hey, what did I do wrong? Because I might not have saw it as wrong, but if I came off a certain way to you that was off-putting, I want to know about it, and I want to fix it.
You could be doing it in other like relationships or areas of your life too, and it takes being okay with people telling you.
So that's why that self-reflection is so important, and just holding up a mirror to yourself. The last tip I have is knowing when to call it quits when it comes to friendships, and that you're not obligated to have certain friendships in your life for any reason. So even if it's like, oh, I've been friends with somebody since I was like so little and I feel like they need to be around, that doesn't necessarily need to be the case, especially if the friendship is toxic. So you can't really hold obligations to your friendships just because they were there for a long time, or maybe they were there for you through like a really tough time. If you feel like the relationship between you and that friend isn't really holding up to today's standard, and you're not getting something from them in the friendship, or maybe you're not giving enough to the friendship for whatever reason, it's perfectly okay to let friendships go. And it's honestly a part of growth. It's a part of life, and it's just a part of relating to other people in general.
That's like when we talked about like your feelings, your emotion, your energy, all of that is expensive. And if you feel like people are taking too much in a negative way, just let it go. Either let it go or have like really strong boundaries and let them know what the boundaries are. So if you're not ready to let a relationship go quite yet, maybe express like, hey, this is a boundary for me and I don't want it to be crossed, and I think that our friendship will be better because of it. And if they don't accept boundaries, then they need to go anyway, because if you're not accepting somebody else's boundaries for something, then there's a level of disrespect there. So yeah, that's all we have. That is all we have for you guys today. We hope you enjoyed our chit chat and learned something that you can apply in your friendships as you go through your 20s and 30s. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, don't forget to...
I was gonna say say it, girl, say it.
Don't forget to like this episode if you're on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to comment below, because we love hearing feedback and stuff. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yes, thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.